events. Missa has a profound love for wine and deep appreciation for its rich history and cultural significance. She collaborates closely with local wineries to showcase the region's diverse and exceptional wine offerings. As the owner of Wine Down events, she offers personalized wine educator sommelier services for private events, corporate gatherings, wineries, and restaurants in New England. She holds a range of esteemed certifications, including a certified specialist in wine with the Society of Wine Educators, WSET Level 3 Advanced Certificate with the Wine and Spirits Education Trust, and French Wine Scholar with the Wine Scholar Guild. Additionally, she is certified as an educator with the Boston Wine School and earned the title of Sommelier with the Court of Master Sommeliers in 2015. Even in her leisure time, you'll often find Missa exploring vineyards and wineries, attending wine shows, expos, and tastings across the globe. Wine is not just her profession, it's her lifelong passion and hobby. BFFs, please join me in welcoming to the podium our wine expert and enthusiast, Missa Capozzo.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I'm sorry, I'm Italian. I can't not move my arms, so I'm going to move a lot when I speak. Yes, I've been in the wine industry for just hit 10 years, as a matter of fact. And my pleasure is bringing really fun, educational, unique, wine-focused events to a variety of people, whether it's at a local wineries, in your home, for corporate events and whatnot. But the question I get all the time is, how did you stumble into this career? You drink wine and you get paid for it. And I do. How did I stumble into this amazing, just fun, never feels like a day of work? And there is a story, of course. We all have a story. And I started many, many years ago in the fitness industry. I was a personal trainer for 16 years. I owned a Pilates and fitness studio, and amazingly enough, this beautiful lady over here, Elena, was the first Pilates instructor I ever had under me at my studio. It was so nice to see you. That was a beautiful surprise. I really had dedicated, my passion was helping people. It was changing their lives, making them healthier, making them stronger. Really, just changing lives. I think all of us want to do that for some point. And I ended up opening my own studio in Worcester, and I loved it. I loved it. It became a home. It became a family. You would walk in as strangers, and you would leave with a whole group of new friends. And it was just a lot of work. Anyone here that owns a brick and mortar knows, boy, you're married to your job. There is no leaving. It took me 3 years to take my first vacation. That was my baby at the time. Also, I am childless by choice, okay? So I believe in living a life of leisure. I knew I wasn't gonna have children when I was like 12 years old. That became my baby. That was my life. And I had no intention of leaving the industry whatsoever. But one day, one random day in September, it was Labor Day weekend, and it was my best friend's birthday. And I threw her a party we went out to Lake Lashaway in East Brookfield, if anyone's familiar with that lake, and had a wonderful time. And midway through the day, we got on the boat. We decided we're gonna boat around and we're all gonna jump in and dive off. And it was my turn to dive. And unbeknownst to me, it was the most shallow point of that lake, and I broke my neck. I hit the top of my head on the bottom of that lake, and I broke my C1 in 4 places. That's called a Jefferson's fracture. That's what Christopher Reeves suffered from. I also shattered my C2. Boy, if there's ever a life-changing moment, it is that moment that I stood up. That's how shallow it was. I stood up in that lake, holding my head, felt nothing, stumbled over to the boat, got on the boat, and this wave of pain. I can't even describe the amount of pain that came over me. I said, oh gosh, I did something really bad here. I made a really bad decision. They get me into the ER finally about an hour later, and when they wheel me in, I finally get the morphine. I'm finally like, thank you. And the first thing I said to the doctor was, when can I get back to my gym? And she looked at me and she said, we don't even know if you're ever going to walk again. We've got to slow your roll, girl. We've got to hold on. And I said, said, absolutely not. I am going to walk, I'm going to be fine, and I'm going to recover in record speed. So they put me in a halo. I was in a halo. They said, you're going to be in this halo for 13 weeks at least. After that, you've got another 2 months in your neck brace. And then it's going to be about a year before you get back to normal. And I laughed. Okay, you're the expert of that. I'm the expert of me. And I'm going to tell you something right now. That isn't going to work for me. That's not going to work for my schedule, and it's not going to work for my lifestyle. I got way too much life to live. And sure enough, in 7.5 weeks, I went back and they took that halo off because I had healed. A month later, that neck brace was gone, and in 4 months, I was teaching cardio kickboxing again. Don't ever let anyone tell you you cannot do something or you're limited to what you can do, because it's nonsense. Not only was I going to walk out of there, but I was going to do it at record speed and make a massive comeback. And once I came back to my business, it just didn't feel the same. There was something nagging me that said, this is not what you're meant to do for the rest of your life. You've done it for a while. It's been about 16, 17 years now. You've changed some lives. You've made some good friends. But this isn't what you're meant to do for the rest of your life. So I ended up selling the studio off. I would still personal train in my home gym, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do. It just wasn't that, and it wasn't anything I had done yet. And so I gave myself the space and the grace to figure this out. It wasn't going to be rushed. It wasn't just going to be there. It will come to me eventually. But I had to make a living. So, of course, I went and worked for a couple corporate gyms and some yoga studios and had a great time. And it was maybe 2 or 3 years after that, it's still nagging me. This isn't what I'm meant to do. And I was sitting on a recliner in front of a fireplace with a beautiful bright glass of red wine in my hand, and I looked down at it and I just started laughing to myself. So there's got to be a way I can make money drinking this. There's got to be. You can do anything you want. I got to figure this out. And I sat there and I stopped laughing and I said, anything you've said you've ever wanted to do, you've done. Why is this any different? So I took to Google. This was 10 years ago. I took to Google and it said, I typed in wine jobs, Massachusetts, no experience. Because the only experience I had was drinking it. I didn't know anything about it. I was really good at that, but I didn't know everything I needed to know. I knew what I liked, and I knew I liked visiting local wineries and whatever. And I found 2 jobs that hired me on the spot. One was a local winery that I could learn about their wines and pour them and share them with people and help them with their sales. And I have the personality to talk to people. I don't mind talking to strangers. I'll pull them in, try my wine. And another job was with, it was kind of a direct-to-consumer type of wine sales, and boy did I take to that. I started that April 1st of 2014. I was able to, leave the fitness industry, and within 1 year, I was the best-selling consultant in the entire nation for that company. And I went and said, I'm going to go get certified as a SOM. Now, I'm not a salesperson. I never have been. I never will be. What I sell is knowledge, I sell experience, and I sell myself. So my whole, way I sell was I was educating my clients. This is why you need this. This is why this is going to change your life. This is why you're going to have so much fun with it. And I fell in love. But it's the same thing I did as fitness. I was a teacher. I was instructing. I was guiding. And that's what I really fell in love with. So when I became a SOM, I got certified in Manhattan as a SOM. I realized that the SOM avenue was not what I wanted to do. I will never be in a restaurant making suggestions. That's just not who I am. First of all, I don't like working for people. I just don't. I don't even like working. The reason I wanted to do this is because I wanted a job that would never feel like a day of work in my life, and it's not. So I decided I want to be an educator. I want to have fun with this. I want to be social. I want to change people's lives in a way of their entertainment and their sharing events or experiences with their families. Because if you think about it, no other beverage in the world holds a memory like wine does. You remember that amazing bottle of champagne or that amazing bottle of Cabernet, or you don't really remember that gin and tonic you had 6 years ago, right? But you remember wine. It's connected to experience, and there's tradition that's passed down, and there's family. There's so much love involved. It's a labor of love. Don't ever let a winemaker tell you they do it for the money, because they don't. They do it because they love what they do. And I fell in love with this. So within the past 10 years, before I really went out on my own completely, I did everything I could possibly do in the wine industry. I helped make wine in a wine cellar. I worked in a vineyard harvesting the grapes. I've worked wholesale. I've worked retail. I have managed winery tasting rooms. I have done it all. But I've never had anything give me the joy like educating people and giving them experiences and events. And after COVID, events went away during COVID. We could not gather, so all of that for me went online. And I was at least able to ship out the wine and get people together that way, which, thank gosh. And after COVID, I was managing a winery in Worcester back then, and he ended up going out of business. He didn't know anything about wine. That's kind of why he brought me on. But it was tough. He had just started right before COVID, and he just couldn't make it through. A lot of people couldn't. It was terrible. But after that, I said, okay, that's it. I'm going out on my own. I'm doing this thing. I'm going to create this business full time. I've been doing it anyways, so I'm going to create it full time, and I am going to wake up every single morning, and I'm going to thank the universe that I have this opportunity to be social with people, to get out in front of people, to kind of change the entertaining value of their lives. And that's what I do. It's very similar to what I did with fitness. It's just completely different because people don't hate me anymore. I don't tell them, I don't make them miserable. I don't tell them they can't eat this and that. I tell them, have that cupcake with that red wine. It's going to be fantastic, right? So I have a lot more friends now. But the point is I'm not a victim of my circumstance, all right? I will never, ever, ever call myself a victim of a broken neck. I'm not. I'm a survivor of a broken neck. I was given an opportunity where the universe stepped in. The universe said, you have this feeling inside you that you don't want to do this forever, but you're doing nothing about it. You're staying complacent and you're continuing on. I'm going to step in, and I'm going to make a lot of noise doing it and give you a broken neck. That's a little drastic, but it worked. It allowed me to see an opportunity in front of me that said, something's going to change. Use this as a lesson. Use this as a learning experience. Use this to heal. And that's how I feel any piece of adversity I've ever faced has done for me. It's been a gift. Whenever something bad happens, and sometimes a lot of bad things happen right in a row, right? And you sit there and you say, why me? And you shake your fist to the sky, when is this going to end? The point is it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. It's an opportunity to hold up a mirror to yourself and say, what do I need to learn? What am I not learning that I need to learn? What do I need to heal from that I'm putting aside? What is this opportunity granting me that I can do better with? And that's how I looked at the broken neck. When I was young, when I was 24 years old, I got married to a horrible human being. I knew he was a horrible, angry human being, and it turned into a very, very abusive relationship. Thank God I had the support in my life, and I had the strength to get out of it within a year. But never, ever have I ever said I was a victim of domestic abuse. No, I wasn't. I was a survivor of domestic abuse. I made the decision, a conscious decision, to marry a very bad man, and at 24 thinking, I can love him out of this. We all know that doesn't work, right? That never happens. But it was an opportunity for me to hold a mirror up to myself and show myself the strength that I had. I'm a survivor. I survived that. I survived a broken neck. Every single one of you in this room is a survivor. And you know how you know that? Because you're here. You're here. You're surviving. You've survived everything life has thrown at you. Now the key here to really live your best life is to not just survive, but to thrive. And I feel like for me, I have figured it out. How do I thrive? How do I live this? And I laugh about a life of leisure. That's what I want. I mean, I'm a hard worker, and I work very smartly. But I could never be that 9-to-5 person that puts in 40, 60 hours a day. That's just not me. I just want to travel and have fun and wake up every morning and say, not I have to work tonight, but I get to work tonight. I get to throw a wine event tonight, and I get to meet 40 new faces, and I get to mingle with them. I get to do that. It's the same thing when I broke my neck. When I'm working out, I get to lift weights. I have to lift weights. No, I get to. I have this opportunity. I survived a broken neck. Not only can I walk and move and live pain-free, I get the privilege of moving my body every day in a way a lot of people ignore because they just don't want to go there. I get that privilege. So I try to change the way I look at things, that nothing bad that has ever happened to me or any of you is to punish you. It is a gift to make you look in the mirror and to help you grow, survive, and thrive. And that is the whole point. 2 weeks ago, I did a speaking engagement to about 20 budding female entrepreneurs. They either had their own business and wanted to expand, or they just had this idea that they wanted to build. And after I spoke, 4 of these women came up to me independently and asked me the exact same question. Where do you get your confidence from? And this is the first time someone asked me a question I had no answer to. I stood there stumped. Where do I get my confidence from? That's a really good question, because back when I was 24, going through this horrible abuse, I remember walking on college campus with my head down, never looking people in the eyes. I was ashamed. I was broken. How did I transform from that to this, where I am now? And it bugged me that I didn't have this answer. And for 2 weeks, I couldn't let it go. And I finally came to the conclusion and found my answer. And I think that is because I finally like myself. I finally found that true self-love that people talk about that you need to find, but you just don't know how to do it. I've become the person I've wanted to become, and I'm continuing to become that person. And I'm doing that by letting adversity give me an opportunity to be that person, to not be a victim, to say, I do want to be happy. I want to wake up every day. I want to take advantage of everything life throws at me. And I think that I've finally been able to do that. I'm a hard worker, yes. I have integrity in my business. I'm an extremely loyal friend. These are qualities that I want to find in a friend and in a business partner. And Joe, I used to listen to Joe Dispenza all the time, and that's what really hit me when he said, the person that you want to be, then wake up every single morning and do one action that's going to get you closer to be the person you want to be. And that stuck with me, and I do that every day. And I think now that I've finally been able to say, you know what? I like myself, but more importantly, I accept myself. I'm not perfect. There's a lot of things I want to change. But I accept who I am in the soul of who I am. And I'm actually proud to be that person and keep continuing to improve that person. So I think I finally found my answer out of a lot of soul searching. And to me, the epitome of self-acceptance. I'm 49 years old. It took me a while to get here, but it doesn't matter. That's the whole point of life, is to give you that journey and that road to find it eventually. It doesn't matter if I'm 89. If you can get to that place where you finally accept yourself, you truly do love yourself as a human being, you found a passion, and you wake up every morning and you're really happy to be alive, that, my friends, is not just surviving. That is thriving. And that is what I hope for all of you. And I hope you can take that with you tonight. And on that note, we're going to have some wine. How about that? You will notice that they're going to be serving a glass of white wine. And we are going to do a really fun demonstration. All of you in front of you have a little cup of a grape and a lemon slice in it. On top of that is a cracker and a Skittle. And then you have all been served this beautiful chocolate truffle by Vivian. Would you like to come up and talk a little bit about chocolates before we start? Okay, I can say a word or two. She and I, we've actually worked together before at an event down at La Cantina Winery. We did chocolate truffle and wine pairing, and she's phenomenal.
Not as phenomenal, but as you are. No, it's a daunting thing to come here and speak with you after Missa. I worked with her once, and it was an absolute pleasure. I don't know anyone who knows more about wine than she does. So the chocolate that you're eating today, it's her request was a white chocolate, and I've been in business 2.5 years up to very, very recent. I do everything in dark chocolate, super dark, starting from 96% down to 58%. Refusing to do milk or white, just because, as you all know, and it's not a myth, dark chocolate is better, and our chocolates don't have any preservatives. It's all, every single chocolate is hand rolled with chocolates from farms in Brazil and Ecuador, Belgium, and friends. So what in front of you today, you have my creation, which is a lemon, lime, and lavender. Don't be afraid of the lavender. Some of you may not even taste it. So lemon, lime, lavender in white Belgian chocolate. So please enjoy, and of course, I am sure she did a fantastic job pairing it. Nothing to say about that. And we do have some chocolates back on the table behind there if you want to come talk to me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I appreciate it. She really does a spectacular job. They're just phenomenal. And she even went above and beyond. I said, you know, in an ideal world, I'd like, we're going to do a white wine, so I'd like a white chocolate, maybe with a little citrus. And she obviously went above and beyond and did something really spectacular. So what they're passing out to you now, I don't know if everyone has been served. Does everyone have their wine? Yes, good. Okay. So this is actually a Pinot Grigio from Italy. I wanted to use something that you're all familiar with a little bit. This is a snippet of what I give all of my wine events at the very beginning to give you a better understanding of what wine is all about. So wine is always alive. It is alive from the moment that bud breaks in the springtime, which just went by, all the way until you enjoy it on the palate. It's always evolving, which is really unique. Unique wine grapes are unlike most anything in the world. So when they ferment, you know, you bring those, let's say we're bringing the Pinot Grigio into the wine grapes, it's harvest time. You bring them into the winery, you crush them, you take the skins away because it's a white wine, you don't want skins with the white wine, and you introduce yeast to that sugary grape juice. And the job of the yeast is to eat that sugar and convert it into alcohol and into CO2. It's very precise that those grapes have exactly the amount of sugar that that winemaker wants when it's picked, because he has a finished alcohol percentage in mind. So if he wants to finish it with 13% alcohol in the bottle, it needs to have enough alcohol, or sugar rather, in that grape juice for the yeast to convert over into alcohol. And when grapes do ferment, they release aroma compounds that you'll find in all other places in the world. You'll find these aroma compounds in other fruits, in vegetables, in herbs, in flowers, all sorts of things on earth. So when you're tasting or you're smelling, you know, let's say we have a Cabernet in front of us and you're swirling it, you're smelling it, and you say, oh, this has notes of raspberry in it. Doesn't mean raspberry has been added to that wine. What it means is that particular grape, when fermented, has the capability of releasing these aroma compounds you will also find in raspberries. So one thing I do make clear when it comes to wine is that taste and flavor are two totally different things. If you cannot smell the aromas in your wine, you cannot taste them as flavors. It's as simple as that. Think about when you've had a cold or allergies. You're all stuffed up, all right? There's nothing getting through up there. And whatever you eat, you can't taste it flavor at all. What you can taste, there are 5 tastes that you can sense on the palate: sweet, salty, sour, savory, and bitter. Everything else is an aroma. So if you're tasting wine and you say, oh, this, I have a lemony note here, that's not a taste, it's a flavor. It is an aroma that is translated as a flavor on the palate. And I'm going to prove to you that we can only taste 5 things. So I gave everybody a Skittle. I hope you can each have a Skittle. It should be in front of you. What I want you to do is I want you to take that Skittle and I need you to completely shut off your sense of smell. You're going to feel a little silly, but I promise that's worth it. I want you to hold your nose and hold your breath while you're eating that Skittle. Yeah, I know, it's worth it. I'm telling you, hold your nose, don't breathe, eat your Skittle. And while you're doing this, you can sense it is sugary sweet. It is not salty, it is not savory, it is not bitter, it is sugary. Go ahead and release your nose and breathe. And only at that moment do those aromas become flavors. Now, maybe you have lemon, maybe you had cherry, maybe you had grape. But you could not tell what you had until you opened up your sense of smell. That is how important aroma is to wine tasting. If you can't smell it, you can't taste it. You will miss it all. Notice how you felt the sugar on the tip of your tongue. That is where the sugar receptors live on your palate. So keep that in mind, okay? So before we get to the tasting, you all have a cracker in front of you. Please have that to cleanse your palate. Everybody has water as well. If you'd like to take a sip of water, by all means, please do. We want a nice clean palate when we're going to sip this wine. And what I'm going to ask is, as we do this, please take very small sips. I want to do a demonstration with the lemon, with the grape, and then I promise you want some left over for this beautiful chocolate in front of you. So, first things first, I want you to take a tiny little sip of this wine and ignore it. You never, ever pay attention to the first sip of a wine, ever. It means nothing. We need to prime the palate. Next, I want you to take another small sip, but this time I want you to swish it around the mouth. I want you to feel the texture. I want you to breathe and see, you know what? I can sense that there's some lemony citrus in here. There is a little stone fruit like peach. There is some notes of apple and pear, which are tree fruits, right? But you're breathing so you can feel that. Now, let me ask you, sugary sweet, like that Skittle, did you feel that in this wine on the tip of your tongue? Or did it hop right over and hit you on the sides with a nice tingling? It should have hopped over, right? If this was a sugary sweet wine, you would have felt it right on the tip of your tongue, boom, sugar. But you didn't, it hopped over. That is how you know a wine is dry. It's as simple as that. I get asked that all the time. Well, how do you know if a wine is sweet or dry? A wine that is dry has no detectable sugar. This wine does not. It's fruity, but it's dry. There's no sugar. And you knew that because it didn't hit you on the tip of your tongue. Where it did hit you is on the sides of your tongue. The sides of your tongue are tingling. Your mouth is watering a little bit. That is acid. Every single wine has acid in it, some more than others. But now we know, just from this sip, you have a dry, meaning no sugar, decent acid wine. And there are some foods that pair really well with that, and some foods that don't. The foods you want to really amplify that fruit and smooth out the acid should have fat, salt, or more acid in them. Go ahead and open up your little cup of grape and lemon. Let's start with your table grape. So I want you to think of this is just your standard seedless grape. I want you to think about the components of this grape. There's no fat, there's no salt, minuscule amount of acid, if any, right? This is all sugar. So go ahead and eat your grape. You're gonna sense that sugar on the tip of your tongue because that's what's the component in this grape. As soon as you're done, I want you to take another sip of this wine and watch what happens. The wine changes drastically. It becomes very acidic, bitter, harsh. The fruit disappeared. Where'd the fruit go, right? This is tough to drink now. This is not a good pairing because it didn't have salt, fat, or more acid. That's what a wine that's dry and high acid needs. All right, what's more acidic than a lemon? Okay, go ahead and have your little piece of lemon. Go ahead and taste that. Go get a little mouth pucker. That's fine. That's exactly what you want. And then take another sip of your wine. And this is where the magic happens. This is where I have now converted you into a true believer of wine and fruit pairs because this wine is suddenly soft. It is suddenly fruity. The acid settled down, the fruit amplified, and it almost appears as if this wine became a little sweeter within 4 seconds, right? That is the magic of fruit pairing, and that is a tiny piece of what I teach at all my events. It's really fun. Now, you're not going to carry lemons in your pocketbooks everywhere. That's not how this works. You still want to enjoy your wine. But I want you to remember that. Salt, fat, or more acid. Have that with your food when you're drinking a wine. It's going to smooth it right out. Easy solution, cheese. Cheese, those of you who cheese is your favorite, you're in luck. Because cheese goes with every wine. It's got salt, it's got fat, it's got lactic acid. It's everything you want to smooth out a wine. But let's have this with real food now. Let's have this with this delicious truffle. Yes, the truffle, of course there's sugar in here, it's chocolate, but it works because there's fat, there's a degree of salt. She's got this beautiful citrus quality to it. So I want you to take a bite of the truffle. I want you to enjoy the texture, the aroma, the flavor. Engage your senses. Right before you swallow your bite, take a sip of your wine. Let them interact together. That's where the fun happens. That's where the magic happens. And we can do this with anything. I've done junk food pairings where we pair Cheez-Its and Doritos. I can pair anything in the world. And every time I do, it just becomes more and more fun. I hope you learned a little something today about the wine. I hope you enjoyed this. It's been a pleasure speaking to all of you. And thank you so much for inviting me and having me. Thank you.
Our wine expert. That's pretty amazing, everything she talked about. And I don't drink wine, but I got it. That's really good. Anybody? So, Missa, we were talking about it. Your wine, what are your favorite wines?
Oh, champagne. Champagne, that's not even a question. Champagne all day.
Do you have a brand that you like in particular?
I do, and it's very cliche. I love Dom Perignon, and I know it's cliche, but it's emotional for me. All right, so I mentioned that wine holds more memories than any beverage in the world. That, for me, is very nostalgic with my family. We used to travel. We acquired a lot of vintage Dom Perignon over the years, and I was the one who got that. When I turned 21, my mom gave them all to me, and every time I had a milestone in life, I opened one. I have one left, saving it for my 50th birthday. So.
Okay, so you also said that you think that New England has some of the best wines there is. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, New England, we are very lucky here in New England. Now, this is not known as a place that grows grapes, right? We're not one of the famous wine regions in the world, but we have a lot of winemaking talent. Some of the winemakers here are just absolutely talented, and although it's tough to grow grapes here, we can. We can't grow Cabernet Sauvignon here, so we can't grow Malbec really well here. Certain grapes. A lot of these local vineyards they're procuring their grapes from other regions, from California, from Long Island, from Finger Lakes, from Chile, from South Africa. And they're bringing them in, and they're able to bring those grapes and make wine with their talent, with grapes from regions that just happen to have better growing conditions. Yeah.
Tell us what kind of wine pairings that you do.
Oh gosh, I do all kinds of wine pairings. So I am a regular at Broken Creek Vineyard in Shrewsbury, at La Cantina in Franklin, at DiBovino Winery in Walpole, at Hardwick Winery out in Hardwick. I'm also up at Swampscott, New Hampshire. I am down at Nascantucket Bay, down at Fairhaven, so I'm all over the place. I like to pair with local food producers. So we'll do, I pair with Smith's Country Cheese up in Winchendon. We do a lot of wine and cheese. We do wine and charcuterie. Moshmellows is Maureen Young owns Moshmellows. She's about to open a storefront in Marlboro. She's phenomenal. She does mini cheesecakes for me. She does Christmas cookies in December for me. We do all kinds of desserts. She has a food truck. We're doing crepes, sweet and savory crepes we're pairing. It's amazing what we can do. I've done gourmet popcorn. Woman-owned Minuteman kettle corn in Worcester. I worked with her. I've paired 5 wines with her with 5 different amazing kettle corns. So when I said I can really pair it all, I absolutely can. And then of course I really enjoy doing wine dinners, working with local chefs.
Will you pair with pizza?
Oh my gosh, pizza is one of my biggest, yes. Pizza and wine is one of my biggest sellouts. Last time I did one, we had 70 people. It sold out, we couldn't fit anymore. I like to partner with different pizza food trucks, and they'll come to the winery and prepare the pizza. It's 5 pizzas, 5 wines. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Oh, everybody's been caring. So first of all, I will tell you that chocolate was ridiculous. And I love lavender, so I tasted that, and that was amazing. And then paired with that wine was incredible. So now my question is, what is the best Cabernet that you have ever had?
I'll tell you what, I'll give you a really good Cabernet, like a medium price Cabernet where it's not $50, it's probably more than 30. Alexander Valley Vineyards from Alexander and Sonoma, phenomenal. Phenomenal, and it's very reasonable. You might even be able to get it for 25 actually. It's a very reasonably priced cab, and to me, spectacular. That would be my suggestion, yeah. Anyone else?
Does she not have the best job in the world?
Right.